Greetings to one and all present here. We have our guest, Mr. Siddarth Gupta, with us. Sir, I would like to request you to please turn on your videos, and all the participants kindly turn on your videos to make this session as interactive as possible. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for joining us today on such a short notice and taking out time for us from your busy schedule. So, greetings to one and all present here. I am Smriti Sahani, and I welcome each one of you on behalf of Entrepreneurship Development Cell. So, we have our esteemed guest, Mr. Siddarth Gupta, founder CEO of SID07 Designs. His company recently got funded in Shark Tank with a huge amount of 25 lakhs. He is a Thapar Alumni from the batch of 2015. He did his BTech in mechanical engineering and his master's from Germany. He started SID07 in 2018 that focuses on designing products that make life easy. He rightly said that imagination can take a person from A to B, but he rightly said that logic can take a person from A to B, but imagination can take a person everywhere. We had a great response on his interview, and a lot of you had put in questions and you wanted to personally ask him and know his journey. So we invited him in this very special webinar. We thank you, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you, Smriti, for having me. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes. So, not wasting any further time, I would like to request sir to please motivate the students and tell us more about your journey.
So hi everyone. So everyone that we have here are students, right? All Thapar students and probably from outside Thapar as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So hi everyone. First of all, I would like to tell every one of you that it's quite a privilege to be studying in Thapar University. It's one of the best universities in our country. So I'd like to congratulate you all for that. So my journey, so I think basically you all know a little bit about me. I've studied my bachelor's in mechanical engineering from Thapar and did my master's from RWTH, Aachen University, Germany, in automotive engineering. Started SID07 Designs in 2018 with a motive to make ingenious inventions and license them out to bigger companies to take them to every hand in the world. So that's basically what the idea behind SID07 Designs was. We've evolved throughout that time period, realizing our mistakes, failing, and then again trying our best, again failing, again trying our best. And right now we're at a stage where just on the cusp of joining hands with a global company like Lenskart. We've just signed the term sheet. So we're at the cusp of being in collaboration with such a big company. And the next 3 years are going to be huge. It's going to be a beginning. It's just a beginning. It's nothing more than that. But yeah, it's a very, very good beginning. It's a very good launch pad for us and personally me as well.
So, sir, that was your journey after Shark Tank. But we all want to know from where it all started, the first step. So this was the most common question when people wanted to ask you questions. So we had rolled out a form for filling in questions. So the most common question was the first step, because many of the students out here who have ideas, they have knowledge, but they don't know where to take the first step from.
Yes.
So what was your first step?
So my first step actually happened much before I incorporated the company or started the company formally. So my passion was creating things, and this was from a very, very, very young age. When I was very, very young, almost 10, 12, 11 years old, I wanted to create things, and I did create small little things at that time, whatever I could with the resources and caliber that I had. So I always wanted to do this. After or during my education, I developed, during our education, we developed minds to think in a certain way. Once I thought I was capable enough and I was gaining knowledge, experience, and exposure, caliber to actually create something of use in the world, I wanted to make use of that and create a big impact in the world. And according to me, and according to a lot of people, uh, the biggest impact that you can possibly make, is by starting your own venture. But there are hundreds and thousands of challenges associated with that as well. But I really wanted to make sure that the work that I'm doing is being used or is of use to a lot of people. And that was not really possible when I was doing a job, or when I would have been doing a job at a company. So I was offered a lot of jobs. Even in Germany, I was offered a job after my master's, but I really wanted to give this. And I was young, and all of us are young, so we can afford to take risks in our lives at this stage. See, your age from 20 to 30, this time period of 10 years actually determines your life probably 50 years after this time period. So what you do between, or what you do during this time period when you're aged 20 to 30, actually will determine the life that you're going to live for the next 50 years. So it's very important to take risks, take calculated risks, not to be ruthless, but take calculated risks. But it's important to try out new things. New things does not mean that you just try and do about everything, but in line with your purpose in life. First of all, it's important to understand the purpose in your life, then what you're good at. You need to be very sure about it, and then make sure that your purpose and what your abilities are, they are in line to create something amazing.
So, sir, when we look at what you're doing right now, so when you first started, when you had your first invention in hand with you, the normal route one person can choose is to just get it patented and sell it to a company. You chose the other route of being an entrepreneur yourself and using it for your own company. So how did you start, and what was the main goal or the idea that was behind it?
So when I started SID07, as I said, the idea was to make inventions and then sell out these inventions in the form of patents, either in the form of licensing or out and out patent sale to bigger companies. After 1.5 years, especially being in India, I realized that no one really is going to believe in your ideas or your inventions or patents, irrespective of how brilliant they are in theory, unless they are proven in the market. This I realized after 1.5 years. So one of my mentors told me that why don't you just make them at a smaller scale and start selling them? Prove that, just prove that there is a market for a product like this, and prove that this actually works in the real world. See, proving that it actually works in the real world in today's day and age with 3D printing is very easy. You can whatever your ideas are, you can give them shape, physical form, and test them out in the real world by prototyping, using some of the mechanical engineering, even getting engineering from help from other people, and building whatever you want to build and test it out in the real world. Okay, it works fine, very good, that's brilliant. But is it really needed by a lot of people? That is something you need to really prove before you go to the next step of reaching out to a bigger player. For example, for the drill duster, like reaching out to a player like Bosch and telling them, see, I've created this is a patented invention. I have manufactured it at a small scale. I have also tried to sell it to a smaller market. This is the response that I have received. These are the reviews that I have received. If there are bad reviews, why have I received those bad reviews? If there are good reviews, then you tell them, see, there actually is value in this product and there is a market for this. And then the credibility of your idea goes multifolds compared to just creating an idea and filing a patent. Even if you get a patent, even if you get the patent granted, doesn't really have a lot of value unless unless it's something completely out of the box new. So drill duster, I mean, dust collection is something that has been done before as well. So as a product, it might not be new, but the way it is doing what it's doing, the problem that it's solving, that is an invention. So it's not easy, but if you prove your product in the market, however smaller the market or the scale at which you're proving it, it increases the credibility of your ideas. And that is basically where I pivoted, and we decided to sell it at a smaller scale, whatever the small scale could be, sell it on Amazon. These days you can sell easily on Amazon. I mean, as a student as well, you can sell on Amazon. So that is something we decided, and that's the route we chose. And hence you see SID07 Designs doing what it's doing and how it's doing right now.
When we talk about a startup, the first thing that comes to our mind is funding.
Yeah.
Where will we get the first funding from? And especially as a student, when we don't have any funds of ourselves and we just have an idea, we know that idea will work in the market, but to begin with, we at least need something in hand. So what was the source of your first funding? How did you think, and what was your pitch to the investors?
See, funding, it's in the beginning, it's sort of a catch-22 kind of a game, because you need funding, but no one will really fund you because you've nothing to prove. You don't even have a proof of concept, because even for a proof of concept, you need to invest some money, build something, whatever it is, whether it's a software or a physical product. So the first form of funding will always, I mean, 9 out of, or probably 99 out of 100 times will come from your family and friends. So that is something that is true for every startup, every big and small startup, and not just in India, but everywhere else in the world. So first funding will come from your parents, from your friends and family. So the first investor that you're pitching your idea to are your friends and family, and your close relatives who can really fund you. And at this stage, you don't really need a lot of funds. Even a little bit of funds will do enough for you to create something. So when you're starting up, it's important to understand what does investment mean. So when you take an investment, when you take funding, it's okay, you're getting the money to build something, right? I know funding and investments are like the buzzwords in today's day and age amongst the youth. But when you take funding, when you take money from someone else and you promise them a 50% return, because an investor is not looking for 10, 12, 20% return. An investor is looking for at least a 50% return. 50% is a big number. Just imagine taking 1 crore of investment from someone, and that person expects that 1 crore to become 5 crore in the next 5 years or 3 years. So that's a lot of expectations. It's a liability. When you take funding, it's a liability. So it's very important, before you approach institutional investors who will give you the big money and take a big stake in your company, to make sure that you are at a stage where you yourself are confident enough of your products, you have enough customers. There's a rule of thumb in entrepreneurship, at least in entrepreneurship from my mentors, which I follow. If you are creating a software, at least 10,000 subscribers, free, even if it's a free software, you must be having at least 10,000 subscribers before you raise the first real funds from investors, institutional investors. And if you are selling a physical product, at least 1,000 customers. At least have 1,000 customers before you take the next step of really going to an investor, because that gives enough confidence to the investor as well, that he or she is investing in a real thing. So investment, I know, is very important, but you have to consider and really be absolutely sure about this thing in your mind, that it's a liability. And the less of it you need, the less of it you take, the better it is for your startup.
So I hope a lot of the students had this doubt, and the doubt must have been cleared, because this is a real problem that students of our age face. So apart from that, sir, what was your Shark Tank journey like? Like, you have already told us parts of it, but like as a whole, like from the beginning, when first, like the first form, where did you get to know the first form rolled out and everything about it?
Yeah, so see, I
In
saw
your final funding.
Yeah, so I saw the ad on Facebook. I've been a fan of Shark Tank, so let me admit first that I've been following Shark Tank since a long time. So when I started SID07 and I did the first promotion for Drill Duster, one of my friends from US kind of casually commented, "I'll want to see you on Shark Tank one day." I didn't know about Shark Tank up till that point, what exactly the term Shark Tank meant. So I Googled it, and I got to know about the show. I watched the show and I was a big fan of that show. So that is where uh, that dream of coming into Shark Tank really, it took us, kind of a seed was sown in my mind that I want to be on Shark Tank. So Shark Tank was not in India, and I didn't really see it coming to India at that time. It was only in the US, and only American companies can apply in US, or in other countries as well. Only national companies can apply there. So there are a lot of, in fact, like Shark Tank, there were other platforms as well, like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, where people do, like, for example, the first thing that you said about investments and students. These platforms, if these platforms were in India, I would say that the number of inventions and innovations that Indiegogo or Kickstarter sees in a year, they will see in a month in a country like India, because we have so much caliber, so much potential. I know for sure that we have so much potential that there will be so many ideas. And crowdfunding, it's not really a thing in India right now. I mean, it's not really legalized, but once it does come, you'll see a big boon. And if Shark Tank has come to India, then Kickstarter will also come to India. Anyways, coming to Shark Tank. So yeah, so that's where the journey began, about thinking, or dreaming about coming to a platform like this. Then eventually, just I think in Feb or March, I saw an ad. Feb or March last year, I saw an ad about Shark Tank India, and I was over the moon. I was like, yes, this is where I need to be. I applied for that, but to be very honest, being at the stage at which we were as a company, I did not expect us to be selected, even in the first form. Because first, I didn't have a team. I am a single person working in a company. I didn't have much sales. Our products were not, killing it, or, were not on fire in the market. We were still in the transition phase of still finding our way in the real world as a company. I did not really expect to get selected, but then we went into the second round, went into the third round, and then, eventually made it to the final shoot, the final show. That's what the journey was. The journey, as I've already talked about the journey a little bit, that it was quite a long journey. For me, it was initially, it started where I just filled the form just to, just to kind of just to do it for the sake of it. But eventually went to the show. I actually thought I might not be able to get into the show this year, but I'll definitely get into the show next year. So yeah, so that's basically what the journey has been. If you have any specific questions about Shark Tank and the journey, just throw it my way.
So first of all, congratulations that you made it in the first try itself, because that is a very big achievement. And we all, as like, we somewhere associate with you, so we feel very proud of that. So as you said that you were a very big fan of Shark Tank from much before it came to India. So, sir, we all have been watching Shark Tank for years. If you would have gotten a chance to go to the real Shark Tank panel rather than the Indian one, so what do you think your outcome of the pitch would have been like? Do you think it would have been different?
It would have been very different. I mean, ifs and buts don't have much value in the world, but I think it would have been very, very different, because see, they think differently. US as a country thinks differently. I've said this before as well. There's a reason that the number of patents filed in the US are significantly higher than any other country in the world, because inventions are valued and inventors are valued there. And inventions don't necessarily need to be the next light bulb. I don't know this mentality where this comes from in India. Inventions are small incremental improvements, or enhancements on the existing products that make your life simpler. It can be making something easier, it can be making something cheaper, it can be making something more efficient. Even if you make something efficient or easier by 10%, and you're doing it in a way that has never been done before in the form of a product, and it's a potential, and it's patentable, it's called an invention, and no one really questions the credibility of it in a country like you. So the outcome would have been different, I'm sure. uh, in fact, I don't know, I would like to go to the Shark Tank US as well, probably someday. Yeah, and I think time will tell what the outcome will be when we're there. Yeah.
Surely, sir. We hope you make it soon. So the sharks blamed that your invention or the product with somewhere resembling to what they already use and or what is already there in the market. So what research do you think before you get an idea? Like you get an idea, for example, you said the drill duster, like you were drilling and then you got an infection and there you had an idea of the drill duster. So, sir, what do you think? As a normal person, we get a lot of ideas. So, what kind of research should we start before actually thinking that we are going to invent something? Like, invention is a much later stage, but your research comes much before that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
how do you start with that?
Yeah. So my process, the process that I follow is I don't get the idea first, I get the problem first. So when I see a problem and I think that this is a big enough problem, I research on the internet, just basic research, preliminary research on the internet regarding whether there is a solution for this problem or not in the form of a product. If I feel, and mostly there are solutions for all the problems, generally there are solutions, then I see whether it is affordable enough to be bought by the mass,
Yeah.
by a large by a large population of the world. Once you come to this stage and by your preliminary research you proven that there is not a good enough solution to this product or good enough solution to this problem, then you go on to the next stage. The next stage is a formal research that we do. So formal research, we call it prior art search. A prior art search is done by a patent attorney and they don't charge a lot for that. It's like 5,000 to 10,000 rupees, but they'll do an exhaustive search for you, whether a similar product is existing in the world or not. So when they do a research or when they do a search, they do not just search on Google, they search the IP portfolio of the entire world. So even the patents which never made into the real world, they search for them as well. Because to get a patent and to claim that it's an invention, you have to make sure that nothing exists even on paper, not just in the real world, but even on paper, even in the IP portfolios of the entire world, to make sure and to get the credibility of it being an invention. So the prior art search is a must. The third thing that, so I've done the preliminary research, I've done the prior art search. At this stage, I know that my idea can be unique, whatever is in my mind. I haven't shared this idea with anyone yet, not even with the attorney. I just tell him कि ऐसा कुछ है जो मैं बना रहा हूँ, just see अगर ऐसा कुछ similar है कहीं पे. Once I get the confidence and the surety from a patent attorney in written that there is nothing like this in the world, and these are the things, he'll also quote like 5-10 patents which look similar to your idea, and then you as an inventor have to decide whether your invention is different to them or not, and you have to be absolutely honest with yourself, because otherwise the journey that you're taking or going to take is going to be useless, right? At this stage, I make an analysis, a preliminary cost analysis, where I analyze the amount of money. This is an estimation, but the amount of money that it will take to make something like this. The cost of goods sold, we call it COGS. So that is like the cost of the materials, the cost of the processes, the cost of the labor, the amount of time that it's going to take, the kind of materials it's going to require to make something like this. And then you again go to the internet and find the solutions to the problem that you're trying to solve and see what are those solutions sold at, right? My rule of thumb is that whatever I create must be at least twice cheaper, must be at least 50% of the cost of the already existing products, if the goal is to make it cheaper. And if the goal is to make it efficient, then it must be at least twice as efficient. If the goal is to make it smaller, then it must be at least twice as smaller. If the goal is to make it lighter, then it must be at least twice as lighter as the current solutions. That is the goal number one. I have two goals when I start on working on a problem full-fledged, when I just get into it. The second thing is the value you are creating for yourself. If the cost of making is such that your gross margin will be upwards of 80%. My goal is that the gross margin should be 80%. Gross margin is the deficit between the price at which you're selling it minus the cost of making it, right? and dividing it by the total price. So if your gross margin is 80% and you are creating something that is twice as better as the current solution in the world, but you have to be absolutely honest and exhaustive in terms of your research, then this solution has the potential to be successful. It still does have the potential to be successful. There are no guarantees in entrepreneurship. It has the potential to be successful. So these are two rules that I follow before I really get on my desk and start working and investing my time into, creating the real world product that I want to create.
So, sir, this is the research portion. Now, when it comes to actually getting your invention patented, so what is the procedure of getting that patented?
So procedure for getting a patent is very straightforward. Actually, as students, I know it might feel a little daunting or overwhelming, but it's pretty straightforward. See, there are two crucial components of any patent in the world. One is the claims, and one is your specification, general specification, the complete specification. Specification is something that defines or describes the entire working of your idea. The main heart or core of the patent is the claims. You have to be absolutely sure and have enough knowledge about how claims work. So for every patent, when you study a patent, for every patent, you will see that there'll be a set of claims. These claims are what you're claiming. The claims are the part of the invention or the product that you're claiming to be an invention, that you're claiming to get the patent for. You have to absolutely be sure. So let me give you an example. It'll be easier to understand that way. So for the drill duster, the mechanism that we claim is the way that spring transfers the force from the drill machine to the impeller that creates a suction. It's slightly technical, but that's what we are claiming. We are not claiming that we have invented something that captures the dust from the drilling, because that already exists. There are a lot of solutions for that. We are claiming the specific way in which we are doing that. So as an inventor, it has to be absolutely clear in your mind, because anyways, you won't be writing your patent yourself. You can write your patent yourself as well. I have written some of my patents. In fact, the drill duster patent I've written myself. But when you go to an attorney as well, because attorneys are techno-legal people, they understand a little bit of engineering as well. They understand a lot of the legalities around getting a patent as well. But your communication to them in the form of an invention disclosure has to be crystal clear in terms of what exactly are you claiming. After that, it's all in the hands of the attorney. And I like to share with you that in India, especially in the last 2-3 years, since we've been filing patents through Startup India, there is a lot of facilitation provided by the government of India. So before, like 5 years before this time, before today, patents were filed like upwards, the amount of money that you would spend to file a patent would be like 1 lakh, 1.5, 2 lakhs. I have filed a patent for 12,000 rupees as well. And that 12,000 rupees is only the government fee, zero professional fee, because these patent applications were filed through patent facilitators, the list of which is available on the Startup India website. You can go to the Startup India website and find patent facilitators there. They will facilitate you, and they are not allowed to charge any professional fee from you. So the majority of the costs associated with filing a patent is the professional fee. The government fee is the cost of filing specific forms, and even that is at a rebate for a natural person or a student. So filing a patent cost wise really is not it. In fact, I don't think anywhere else in the world it is you can file a patent for as little as 12,000 rupees. So there is a lot of facilitation, a lot of facilities, and a lot of support that is present in our country now to really get your inventions, your ideas in the real world.
So, sir, like as you had mentioned in the interview as well, and as we saw in the episode as well, that you are going to take up many future projects with Lenskart. So, sir, what is the current status of those projects? Like you are already working on something with Piyush and Lenskart. So, what exactly it is? Like a lot of people in the forum and as well in the chat are asking the same question.
Yeah. So I've just had a discussion with Piyush on Sunday, last Sunday, and it was a very healthy discussion. It was a very, very nice discussion. So I have already been to the Lenskart facility, the Lenskart warehouse and the factory. I can't share details, obviously, but I've been in touch with their chief supply chain manager and their team, and they were really happy to have me there. And we discussed a lot of current issues, problems, improvements, opportunities in the form of products that I can work on for Lenskart. So SID07 Designs now is going to do two kinds of things. We are going to work on two kinds of problems. One which are Lenskart specific, and ones which are not Lenskart specific. So these are like my ideas which I work on. So I am going to work on ideas which are of use to Lenskart as well. But these ideas we won't be working on for free. So Lenskart is going to be a customer. Lenskart is funding us, but Lenskart is also going to be a customer. So we are not employees of Lenskart as such. They are funding us. They are an investor. They are not an employer. They are an investor. Whatever we create, we get the problem statement from Piyush, and that is something I actually needed, a direction in which I needed to use my abilities. I get that direction. I create solutions for Lenskart as well, and we sell them to them either in the form of IP, or we manufacture products, or we utilize their manufacturing capabilities to deliver a product to them, but they become a customer. And the second tier is SID07 specific ideas, which again I would get a huge amount of guidance, support, and mentorship from Piyush, because that is something I really needed for my products as well. So once we are in a discussion with Piyush regarding one product, and he says that this is something that can really make a bigger impact, and making use of the experience that he already has, that is what I really wanted. So then we work on those ideas to go further as well. So that is what the next 3 years are going to look like.
Thank you so much, sir. All these details were really insightful, and I'm sure everyone has gained a lot from it. Like, I personally have gained a lot of insights, and now a lot of things are clear in my mind which weren't so before. So now we are open to questions from the audience. So if anyone has any questions, they can post it in the chat box. Or if anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask, we are open to that as well.
Yeah, so we have a question from, I am not getting the complete name here. It's Taran, right? I'm not able to see.
It's Taranvi, I think.
Yeah, Taranvi. So the question is, sir, I have a question. Basically, people go in Shark Tank to strengthen their entrepreneurship, but sir, why did you sold 75% equity? Didn't it make you an employee of Piyush Bansal? So one word answer to that would be no. It didn't make me an employee of Piyush Bansal. Had that been some other person in the Shark Tank, in the tank, it might have been the case. But Piyush is not that kind of a person who wants control over over me, or just wants to gain from me. That's the reason, if you watch the show, if you watch my episode closely, in the end he said that we might, or we would invite you again to Shark Tank, and then let's tell everyone where you are. He wants me to grow as well. He wants SID07 to grow as well. Obviously, he's a businessman and he wants to create value for his business as well, that he's doing. But additionally, and along with that, he wants to create value for SID07 as well, and he wants us to grow. And that doesn't make us an employee. About 75% equity, a lot of people have been asking me that, why did I give 75% equity at that stage? See, as I explained, the reason, so whenever you take such a decision, this is my suggestion to everyone as well, and an insight into why I took that decision as well. When I started SID07 Designs, it was meant to create inventions and license them out to potential licensees, like bigger companies. With licensing, there is a standard royalty percentage that you get, and that standard royalty percentage lies between 5 to 10%. So imagine that we were on the same route. We were creating inventions, not selling anything in the market, but creating inventions, filing patents, and going to licensees to license our products. And imagine that we were able to successfully license one of our products as well. Then whatever that licensee would have made, let's assume that a licensee made 1 crore revenue from one product in a year, we would have gotten 5% of that. In the power tool industry, the standard is 5% royalty. 5% of that, the 5% of the profits. Right now, I have 25% for the same kind of work. And this is something I told in the end as well. So that was the idea behind giving 75% of equity. And to be very honest, given what happened on the show, what happened on the episode, Piyush was actually taking a bigger risk than I was at that stage. And if he gains 75% from whatever we are able to create, I think he earns that with the risk that he took. And 75% of, so tell me, let me ask you a question. What is 100% of zero? It's zero.
It's 0.
20, what is 25% of something? It's something, right? So we were currently at a stage where we had zero. And 100% of zero was zero, and we had no direction. Very honestly, we were sitting in a place like Jammu where we had no support. Business was not easy. I mean, sometimes the light would just go off. And shifting to another place would have incurred a lot of costs. I'm sitting at my home in my office right now, so I don't have to pay the electricity bills or anything. I do have to pay, but not as much as I would have to otherwise. But we needed some money and we needed some guidance. More specifically, we needed guidance and mentorship from someone who's already been through and done that day in and day out since the last 10 years. And that's what we got. And this is for the next 3 years. Whatever the deal that you've seen is the next 3 years. And this was the kind of deal. Another thing I would like to add, this is the kind of deal which many people might not be able to understand whether it was good or bad, and who was it good for and who was it bad for. This will be clear in the next 2 years. And I'll be answering that question, and probably you'll have your answer in the next 2 years. I don't have to answer that. So Smriti, can you please just read out the questions to me, because I'm getting a lot of questions.
I think people are doing it a direct message. So I would request everyone to please send it to everyone instead of direct messaging.
Okay, so I have a question. If Bharat Pay founder had offered me the same deal at 65%, would I accept it? If the Bharat Pay founder offered me 2 crores for 100% or 2 crores for 0%, I would not take it. Not now, not ever.
And sir, if we could ask the reason.
So see, money is one thing. When you start a venture, money is one thing. I'll share a story instead of giving you an answer. So we were manufacturing packaging for our drill duster. We had to print blister cards. So the cards which are behind the plastic blisters. A manufacturer was doing it for us in Delhi. But during the course, that manufacturer did a few things which were completely unacceptable to us. Not business-wise, but unethical things. And as a person, as a founder or as a person, I really do not want to associate with unethical people. I really do not want to be associated with people who are unable to respect other people's opinions. I mean, it's okay to disagree. It's okay to not like someone's idea, but it's not okay to demean someone. It's not okay to just dismiss them and their entire life's work just because you are sitting at a position where you can. So this is something I do not want anything of in my personal or professional life. And money will come and go, but we are here to live happier lives. We don't want that kind of scenario or that kind of atmosphere anywhere, even 10 kilometers of vicinity of our company.
So, sir, we have Parth with us. He wants to ask a few questions. He is an entrepreneur himself. So, Parth, if you could unmute yourself.
Hello, sir. Glad to meet you. So my question is, so these sharks, these are entrepreneurs, and they have invested in so many startups. Like some of them have invested in 200 startups. Yeah. So, sir, हमेशा से जब भी मैं Shark Tank देखता था, मैं ये सोचता था कि basically people are giving them so much equity, but do they really have time to invest in us? Yeah, मेरे को कभी जब उनकी जरूरत होगी, if I would really need them, their expertise, so would they really be available? They have their own companies, they are CEO of their own companies, and they have invested in 200 companies.
Yeah.
So is it really worth it to value the sharks as much as people do?
See, about if I talk about Shark Tank US, so I've been following not just the show but also the startups which got funded on Shark Tank US, and with them I've been following their graph and the kind of investors who invested on them. So I'm a big fan of Mark Cuban. I do not watch Shark Tank US when Mark Cuban is not on the panel. Full stop, because that's a person whose opinion is something I really take notes about. So I really learned a lot from someone like Mark Cuban. And with all the companies that Mark Cuban has invested in, he does really help them. There are some people who don't just make claims for the television that if we call him at 3 a.m., he'll pick up our call and give us feedback or whatever. He actually does that. He actually does value the people that he associates with. So because Shark Tank in India and the sharks that we see on the panel in India are really new, we can't make a lot of judgment about them, because we haven't seen a lot about what the companies that they've invested in will do or are going to do, and what kind of interaction or what kind of rapport they have with their founders, in which they've invested. I can tell you for sure about Piyush Bansal, because I have been in talks with him. I have talked to him twice now. And you must have seen on the show itself, it's not just for showing. I mean, he invested 10 lakhs in, I think that Kamlesh, in the startup of Kamlesh, 10 lakhs in equity. He didn't need to do that. I mean, why would he need to do that? He has to, because 10 lakhs of money is one thing. That amount of time that he will have to dedicate to a startup like that would be immense. Even if he has to allocate someone to work on their startup, the value of that time that has to be invested in a startup like that is huge. But he genuinely wanted to help that person. He genuinely saw potential. And what he did on the show would make sure that people who have dreams in the rural parts of our country don't just throw them away, they pursue them. Seeing someone like that, seeing someone like Kamlesh getting funding on Shark Tank. So that is the kind of impact. And about Piyush, I can tell you that he does give time. He will give time. He will give me guidance. And to be honest, when you are at a stage when you understand at least nitty-gritties and the fundamentals, basics about entrepreneurship and taking decisions, the right decisions, you don't need the person to always be sitting behind you and holding your finger and taking you through the forest. You only need him in the decisive kind of stages. For example, I'm working on 2 products right now. Both of those products have potential. Both of those products have different markets. So I need his experience and guidance, his experience, the number of times he's failed and succeeded in bringing something like this into the market, to tell me which product should I go with first. You can't go with both. So that is also my recent learning, that you can't be doing everything at once. You have to make one hero product, make it really successful, and then expand from there. So that is something which I am 100% sure that I'm going to get the guidance from Piyush, and that is basically all you need. You don't need him to be in your ears every time or all the time. Once a month or even twice a month, a 10-minute call is good enough to take the decisive calls.
Thank you, sir. Also, sir, a very basic question, but a question from a lot of people. Like Shaurya Malik out here has asked, how do you calculate the valuation of a company? For example, your valuation was 4.7 crore in Shark Tank. So what does that mean?
So see, valuation is something which is done in different ways. Valuation of a company is not a direct science. That's why when companies are creating something, or when companies go to an investor, valuations, they go up and down all the time. A very basic and simple way of calculating or evaluating your company is through sales. But for a company that is pre-revenue, or for a company that has just begun to sell things, or for a company like us, which is very, very early stage, doesn't have the team, doesn't have the resources to market, doesn't have the resources to really make an impact into the market with our products, it's difficult to evaluate on the basis of sales. But I can tell you one model which goes with sales. So imagine a company which has been selling for like 3-5 years, and for the last 2 years their sales have been steady. By steady, I do not mean constant. By steady, I mean they have been rising, but they've been rising steadily month on month. So for such a company, you see what the total revenue is, what their annual revenue is in year one, or the current year that we're talking about, year zero. Let's call it year zero. So let's assume that their revenue is 1 crore, and their net profit is when you deduct all the costs associated with your business, the cost of making the product, the cost of salaries, the cost of rent, everything is gone except taxes. And not the you do not deduct the taxes from that, not the income tax, or the product related tax, which is VAT or GST, whatever you may consider. If your net profit is 30%, that means you're making 30 lakhs. That company is making 30 lakhs in a year in profits. A disciplined investor would multiply this number by 5 and then value your company at that whatever you get. So that's 1.5 crores. Your company will be valued at 1.5 crores for a disciplined investor. Because when this person invests in your company, let's say that person is taking 10% stake in your company, and at 1.5 crore valuation, that person will give you 15 lakhs, right? I'm clear in that. So at 1.5 crore valuation for 10%, this person will give you 15 lakhs. 5 years down the line, when this investor wants to take an exit, his money will be completely made. At least, I mean, when he gives you 15 lakhs and your company has made 30 lakhs into 1.5 crores in 5 years, and he owns 10% of that, which is 15 lakhs. That means at the very least, if your company is completely constant, doesn't make any growth, he will make his money. That is how a disciplined investor would generally evaluate a company. Now you can argue कि नहीं, मेरी growth 20x हो रही है, या I am going to introduce 20 more products, or we are expanding to international markets and our growth is going to be huge. Whatever your reasons and your reasoning behind why you want to value your company beyond 1.5 crores, but the very basic minimum valuation that your company will have is 1.5 crores. So I hope I've answered. There are many ways of valuing a company. This was just one of them.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I think we only have time for one last question.
Yeah.
So a question from Achit Sharma. So he says, like, what is that we can really do while studying in India, or especially in Thapar, something meaningful in the way of invention? Like, instead of just mugging up definitions and getting CGPA and finally ending up in a cubicle.
Yeah. So that depends on what exactly it is that you want to do. Like invention and innovation are, you need to understand what kind of invention. Are you creating a software or a product, or what kind of innovation that you want to do? One thing you need to understand is what you're good at, whatever it is. I mean, it could be a part of your engineering caliber, or it could be something else. You don't necessarily have to be good in engineering to be an entrepreneur. I mean, we've seen numerous examples of that. Many people who are good in just selling, many people who are good in just inspiring people have been very, very, very good entrepreneurs. You have to understand, first of all, before starting or thinking about doing something, you have to understand about yourself, what you're good at. And if you feel that this is something that really differentiates you from the crowd, then work on that thing day in and day out and make it so huge, make it so impactful, make it so strong that it's not just you who thinks you're different from the crowd in terms of that one characteristic, but everyone else does. And then find a problem in the world, find a real problem in the world, a big problem in the world that is faced by a lot of people, and then try and use that characteristic to solve that problem, creating a solution. Once you are in that way, you will need more people supporting you. So if you're a good, let's say you're good in engineering, you will need people who are good in business. You will need people who are good in managing the business. You'll need people who are good in terms of selling your products. You'll be needing people who are good in terms of creating that cohesion in the team and keeping everyone together, having a unified vision and moving forward. but the problem that you're trying to solve and the solution that you want to create. There can be political solutions, there can be social solutions, there can be engineering solutions, different kind of solutions. The kind of solution depends on the kind of company that you want to create, but you have to be absolutely crystal clear about the problem you're trying to solve and what you're good at. And if you need people who are supplementing, who have to supplement your skills to reach that goal of solving that problem, then you have to be absolutely open to that.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for giving us so many valuable pieces of advice and information. And I hope all future entrepreneurs out here have gained a lot of information. Thank you so much, sir, for that. Also, a lot of you have many other questions that we haven't addressed today, but a lot of questions were similar to what sir has already answered today, or he had previously answered in the interview as well. So you can refer to that for your answers. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for joining us today and making this session a success.
Thank you everyone, and all the best.
Thank you, sir. All the best to you too for all your future plans and goals.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.